To me, it seemed like a lot of the content within it as well, because I felt like they tried to go true to the comics in terms of like
That's
how
what I
weird,
mean.
like fantastical it was kind of being. Was when I was watching it, I was a bit like, okay, to me, like that's why it made sense why it wasn't like mass marketed, because I was a bit like, I don't think like the average like movie going sort of like audience would maybe be into sort of some of like the weird stuff that was kind of like going on in this movie. And like you said, Jonathan, it was like there was like parts of it which was definitely how you said it, like you felt like discombobulated in terms of like what was going on in sort of in like the movie. I could like, you could kind of definitely feel that, and you can kind of definitely feel that this wouldn't have had like this didn't have the mass appeal to sort of like generate a sort of a fan base of people that don't truly know sort of the Hellboy and Hellboy comics, essentially.
Let me disagree right there, if
Go on.
that's okay. So I think this has all the ingredients to be a really successful thing, right? So one of the things that's in recent years that's been consistently making money as low budget horror, right? You make a movie for 8 to 10 million, and you make 20 or 25, and then you sell it to streamers, and that's a tidy profit. You do that a couple of times a year, right? That's a winning business model, right? This movie has more CGI in it, like specifically like the Hellboy character, right? Requires a larger budget and more production costs and that sort of thing. And the budget at 20 million is a little bit higher. So just using the really rough rule of thumb, you need to make 50 million for this to break even, which is more than these movies make. But it feels a lot like a low budget horror movie. Right, witchcraft in Appalachia is a very recognizable theme. It looks like actually one of the reactions the movie got when the first trailer came out, aside from being a really poor trailer, was that it looks like any other horror, like low budget horror movie about witches. And I think they should have leaned into that, saying it's that kind of movie, but also it's got Hellboy in it.
Would that be a good decision though? Because Hellboy started off with a high budget. The first 3 movies, I'm guessing the budget was very high. Yeah, so
but those were made 20 years ago, and those were different movies and different stories. But what I'm getting at is the movie, the story itself is really approachable. The audience knows Appalachia. The audience knows Christian folklore or mythology. The audience knows witch lore. And all you need to do is add in Hellboy. And Hellboy's whole thing is that he doesn't care about being special, right? Like, we get 2 lines in this movie that are straight out of the comic, which is, I met the devil and he doesn't look like you. And the other thing is a thing about Hellboy was found in a church in the 40s. And that's kind of what we get in terms of background. And that's all you need. You do not need to know anything else about him. This is not like the first Del Toro movie where we spend a lot of time about the Nazi occult ritual hiring Rasputin to open a portal to the chaos dimensions to waking up in Elder God. Like, none of that is here, and none of that is required for the story. Hellboy is just a guy, and he stumbles into this adventure. That's all you need to know. And then if this movie had worked, the next movie could have built on his background a little bit. But his whole character is that he doesn't care, and it's not important to who he is, like his origins. And at least not this. Like, there are some lines about how he's got this destiny that hasn't caught up with him yet, and he's kind of been in denial about it and all of that. But on a very basic level, this is a very simple story, and most of the pieces are well known to the audience. And the thing that's new is not really that important, like who is Hellboy and where does he come from, right? He does not have any special powers. He doesn't have any special backgrounds, anything that are important to understand the story. So if you had kept this budget a little bit lower and had marketed as to Hellboy fans simultaneously as to fans of low budget horror, I think that could have been much better. If the costume had looked a little bit better, if the first trailer had been a little bit better, if this movie would deserve better word of mouth, I think you could have had a sleeper hit on your hands, at least enough to get a sequel, and then you could have had like a series of cult classics.